Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex. Today we're going to be talking about Alex Murdaugh and the Murdaugh family. You've probably heard about this on the news, maybe you've walked through the grocery store aisle, seen it on the cover of a few magazines, but what I'm going to do on this video is I'm going to go chronologically from the beginning to the end and give some of my opinion along the way. So stay tuned. Family has deep ties in the legal system of South Carolina, as Randolph Murdaugh was elected chief prosecutor in 1920. Randolph Murdaugh served as chief prosecutor for those 5 counties until his untimely death after about 2 decades. And after his passing, his son Randolph Murdaugh II, or Jr., took his place and served an additional 46 years until his son Randolph Murdaugh III served all the way until 2006. So you can just imagine this. From 1920s all the way to 2006, you have pretty much the same name, all of those people's minds in those counties that he served. Now we get to the person in question in the story, Alex Murdaugh. He's not a Randolph, but he is the son of Randolph Murdaugh III. Even though Alex Murdaugh didn't serve at that same post as the chief prosecutor, he did help his father with some of the cases. Alex does have a brother named Randolph, who's currently serving in the law firm that Randolph Sr. had created way back in 1910. However, that name for the law firm has changed based on the Murdaugh name being besmirched and dragged through the mud for reasons that we'll get to later. Now we'll start with a few chain of events that really seems to be putting Murdaugh in the wrong light. Alex Murdaugh's eldest son, Buster Murdaugh, was friends with someone by the name of Stephen Smith. There's been some speculation about the nature of the relationship, whether it was intimate or more buddy-buddy. And very mysteriously, Stephen Smith's body is found in the middle of a country road in Hampton, South Carolina, in July 8, 2015. An autopsy was soon performed on his body, and they concluded that it was a hit-and-run accident, that there was blunt force trauma. And the mother, upon delving more into the details, she concluded that no, that was not the case, that he was murdered. The Highway Patrol investigators disagreed with the autopsy determination as well, and they pursued several leads. So the both of them, the mother, Sandy Smith, and the investigators of the Highway Patrol, they were thinking there's something going on with the Murdaugh family because Buster, there was an alleged relationship, and maybe they were speculating that the Murdaugh family helped the son to get away with something sinister. We'll get more into this particular case later on because the reason why they delved more into this case is because of the later case involving Alex Murdaugh. And things continually get stranger because the long-term nanny and housekeeper for the family, she dies. Her name was Gloria Satterfield. And in February 26, 2018, she allegedly trips over one of the Murdaugh dogs, falls, dies, and no autopsy is done. The coroner isn't notified of her death. It's very, very fishy. Alex Murdaugh goes to the 2 sons of Gloria who are grief-stricken. They're sad, they're mourning their mother, and he's advising them to sue for wrongful death from the estate in order to get money. So they do that. Alex Murdaugh, of course, is pulling the strings, and he's the one that collects the money. The sons don't collect anything, but they figure something fishy is going on because they didn't get any money. There were years that had gone by, and they had no idea what happened to those funds. You would think that Alex Murdaugh would have gotten in trouble by now, but he didn't. Not until things started taking a turn against the family when in 2019, February 24th, when his son, Paul, at the age of 19, drunkenly crashed his father's boat into the Archers Creek Bridge in Beaufort, killing Mallory Beach at the age of 19 and injuring 4 other friends. At the accident, Paul's blood alcohol level was tested and it was 3 times the legal limit. According to reports, Paul was very belligerent under the influence of alcohol. That he had an alter ego named Timmy in which he would just go wild. He seemed to be a person that was spoiled, had all this money, had this name, and he thought whatever he did, he could get away with it. But Paul was wrong, and the Beaches family and estate had filed a lawsuit against Paul and his family for wrongful death and under the influence of alcohol, and the store that had sold alcohol to a minor illegally with an ID that was not Paul's. And as you know, Alex Murdaugh, he's been up to no good, and on June 7th, 2021, he called, sobbing hysterically over a 911 call after 10 p.m. to report that he found Paul and his wife shot dead near their dog kennels on his 17-acre property in Arlington, South Carolina. Alex Murdaugh claimed that this was retaliation for the boat crash that happened involving his son way back in 2019.
This is the firearm you brought from inside the house?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I went and got. This is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck a few months back. He's been getting threats. Most of it's been benign stuff we didn't take serious.
Okay.
He's been getting like punched. I know that's somebody. I know that's what it is.
Okay. When did you get home? Right when you called, or did you go to the house first? Where is the house?
I came to the house first. My mom has late stages Alzheimer's, and my dad is in the hospital.
Okay.
I left. I don't know what time. I can go back on my phone and tell you the exact times. Did you check?
Okay. Did I check what?
Did you check them?
We got medical guys that are that's what they're gonna do. Okay.
What are they doing? Can they hurry?
They are. Yes, sir. That gentleman that was out here already, he's one of the battalion chiefs. Okay.
And Alex Murdaugh claimed that he was ambushed on September 4th, 2021, while he was changing a tire. The alleged gunman was passing by in his pickup truck, so they believe, or Alex tried to make people believe, that it was a drive-by shooting, and it was further retaliation for the boat accident that happened in 2019. Soon after this, Alex Murdaugh checked himself into rehab, citing a long-standing opioid addiction. And when this was happening, he was pushed out of the law firm that he was working for, as the people in the firm were claiming that he was stealing money from the company, he was stealing from customers' settlement statements. You know, when somebody wins a case, they have a settlement statement, they get checks issued to people. They were claiming that he was stealing those funds. So Alex Murdaugh, he was up to no good. And this kind of seems like his last attempt to gather money and commit all this fraud before things start come crashing down. Following the incident of being shot in the head, Alex Murdaugh claimed that he was hemorrhaging severely, but medical examiners, when they looked more closely, they found out that that was a lie. That was not true. It was greatly exaggerated, and his wound was superficial. Alex Murdaugh was caught in a lie. He had his lawyer, and I'm sure with some deliberation, he came out and told the truth about this incident, in which he said that he had hired somebody, a former client, to shoot him in order to have a $10 million insurance claim to be given to his surviving son, Buster. This hired gunman, Curtis Edward Smith, is charged with assisted suicide, insurance fraud, and other counts of allegedly trying to help Alex Murdaugh fake his own murder so that his son could collect this money. And upon further investigation, Smith and Murdaugh were hit with felony charges, including the distribution and purchase of narcotic oxycodone. You would think that Alex Murdaugh would have had his legal license stripped at this point, but it didn't happen until after these things had happened, after being accused of these felony charges. I mean, come on, you guys are a little late to the show here. And it was a long time coming, but finally in July 2022, Alex Murdaugh was charged with the murders of his wife and son. And at this point, when the trial's beginning, Murdaugh's family, they're all behind him. They're in his corner. They can't imagine that he would be a person that would kill his own family members. And the trial took place on January 23rd, 2023 in Colleton County Courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina. The prosecuting attorneys of this probably thought they had this in the bag. They had a coat that Alex was wearing that had gun residue on it that he had later stashed away a week later at his mother's house, as well as footage of him on camera wearing a white shirt during the incident in which there was no blood on him, no splattering at all. I'm sure you know when you're wearing a white shirt, if you're eating ketchup or doing anything, I mean, blotchiness is going to get on it. There wasn't really anything. And he claimed that he was touching the bodies and doing all these things and trying to resuscitate them in some ways. But there wasn't any corroborating evidence of that whatsoever. And the defense team, they took the angle of Alex always being a loving and caring father that had actions that proved that he would never do anything as heinous as what was perpetrated that night. In videotaped interviews with law enforcement, Alex repeated the same timeline, that he rode around the property with Paul, he ate dinner with him and Maggie, and that was the last time that he saw him. In addition, he said Maggie headed down to the dog kennels a quarter mile from the main house, and Paul left without saying anything about where he was going. Then he claimed that he fell asleep 20 minutes after watching TV. When he woke up after watching TV, he said he tried to call and text Maggie and there was no answer. And a little bit after 9 p.m., he said he went to go visit his mom, who suffers from Alzheimer's, about 20 minutes away. And then when he returned to the main house, he saw it was empty and then drove down to the dog kennels to look for Maggie. And a little bit after 10 is when he saw the horrific scene, according to him, and called 911 at around 10:07 p.m. And on week 2 of the trial, Alex Murdaugh, he was being interviewed and being videotaped, in which during that time he was crying hysterically, sobbing, and saying things unintelligibly, and they didn't really understand what he said. And then when they examined a little further, they understood what he said. That he said that he did him so bad. And that seems a little suspicious. Okay, he did him so bad. Who did he do so bad? Was it his son, Paul?
And sitting there talking today is tough.
It's just so bad. They did it so bad.
When you asked the defendant about the traumatic picture that he saw of Paul and Maggie, what did he say?
It's just so bad. I did him so bad.
Alex later said that he didn't say I did them so bad. He was claiming that the other party had did him so bad, but he couldn't really backtrack at that point. The jury was there, they saw that as evidence, and that wasn't looking too good for him. Another piece of evidence was video footage showing Alex that he was near the dog kennels close to the time of the murders. Remember when Alex said that he was sleeping over at the television and that he didn't meet with them at the dog kennels? Well, they pretty much determined that was a lie.
Alex Murdaugh's alibi potentially destroyed by his son's own video.
Get back. Get back.
Prosecutors revealing a 58-second cell phone video recorded by Paul Murdaugh directly contradicting Alex Murdaugh's story, placing him at the murder scene minutes before his wife and son were shot to death. In the video, you can see Paul going into a pen on the family's property to check on a friend's dog. In the background, you hear other voices.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth.
Bubba. Hey, Bubba.
It's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash. Quit.
Murdaugh claimed he didn't go to the family's kennels that night until he found his wife and son's bodies.
I was up at the house. I laid down, took a nap on the couch, probably, 25.
And there was a Snapchat of Paul's before the murder showing Alex wearing a blue shirt when later on after the murders he was wearing a white shirt. So that kind of makes the jurors speculate that perhaps he had changed his shirt after the murders were committed.
Better than it was, ain't it?
Now we're on week 3 of the trial, and there was a bomb threat that was called in and the whole courthouse had to be evacuated. It was a hoax, it wasn't true, so then they reconvened. And then the jurors, they heard more testimony about Alex and his shenanigans, his financial crimes, his insurance fraud. They were starting to see Alex for what kind of person he really was. And not just about the incident, but what he could have been potentially capable of. And the jurors were hearing more testimony about Alex and who he really was, with his financial crimes, with his fraud. They were getting a perspective on what he was truly capable of. And was violence, were those one of the potential things? And there was further testimony from the employees at the Murdaugh home claiming that they were pressured by Alex to give a certain testimony and say that the alibi matched with what he said. And now it's week 4 of the trial, and the GPS coordinates for the Chevrolet Suburban of Alex's is shown to have been near the dog kennels at the time of the crime. Now you must be thinking, why would Alex kill his wife and his son? Didn't he love them? But there were reports that before the incident happened, they had confronted him about his opioid addiction. Remember when I said he had checked into rehab? He didn't really like, it seemed, that they were confronting him. I don't know if that was enough to kill him, but according to the jury, maybe it was. And now it's week 5 of the trial, and Alex Murdaugh himself takes a stand in his own defense. He is weeping, he's crying. You can just see all the mucus even running down his face. It seems pretty convincing, right?
He's the most special boy.
Do you love Paul?
Did I love him? Like no other. He and Buster.
Do you love Maggie?
More than anything. I love Maggie from the first time we went out.
Did you kill Maggie?
No, I did not kill Maggie. I did not kill Paul. I would never hurt Maggie, and I would never hurt Paul. Ever. Under any circumstances.
Thank you.
And he's saying that it's the drugs that made him lie to investigators, that he had the bag on him and that was the reason why he lied, and that he did not kill his wife and his son, and even though it looked suspicious, it really wasn't him. And it seemed that he was probably relying on the emotion to kind of help him glide through this. He was still very adamant that these people were there to execute him and his family due to the 2019 boat crash, and that's why Paul was killed and not him, presumably. So leading up into week 6 of the trial, they had more ballistics experts, psychology experts. They all came in and gave their 2 cents on whether or not they believe Alex Murdaugh could have done this. And as you would imagine, there were deliberations. It was less than 2 hours for the jurors to come to a conclusion. And that conclusion was that he was guilty on all counts. Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to life in prison for his actions against his wife and son. And even, this is the weird part, he is trying to appeal the sentence by using the money that he stole from all of the fraud that he had done before. This is ridiculous. This request has been denied. And at this point, it makes you think this guy didn't have a lick of empathy for the people that he's hurt. All of this crying, all the things that he did on the stand, that was really all about him. He's a con man, and that all of these attempts are just trying to get out of something that he caused. He's not willing to take accountability for his actions and just stay in prison. Well, that's it for this video and for Alex Murdaugh. I don't necessarily think I'll need to make another video because I don't think there's going to be any appealing to this sentence. It's just the way I see it. But be sure to like and subscribe for more videos to come. And then also don't forget to comment if you have any insight into this case or any future cases that you would like me to cover. So, until then, I'll see you on the next video.